What if there actually was a secret cabal of ultra-wealthy people using financial systems to control the world, except it wasn't secret, and it was all open, and there were cults of personality dedicated to all the people who were doing it. And we called it capitalism. And it had, like, nothing to do with race or religion, like, on a fundamental level. We did it. We found out. Do you ever get tired of always being correct? Oh yeah, speaking of me always being correct. Alright. So, you guys already know this. This happened over Thanksgiving. I wasn't streaming on Thanksgiving. Blitler 2024 has reached peak with Kanye just openly endorsing Nick Fuentes. Let's get to the bit.
I think the thing that
Blitler levels rising, Hitler particles everywhere.
Trump was most perturbed about me asking him to be my vice president. I think that was like lower on the list of things that caught him off guard. It was the fact that
Kanye is referring to a dinner he had at Mar-a-Lago with himself, Trump, some others, including Nick Fuentes.
Walked in with intelligence. So Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, unlike so many of the lawyers and so many people that he was left with on his 2020 campaign, he's actually a loyalist. When he didn't know what the lawyers is, you'll still have your lawyer list. And when all the lawyers said, forget it, Trump's done, there were loyalists running up in the White House, right? And my question would be, why, when you had the chance, did you not free the January 6ers? And I came to him as someone who loves Trump, and I said, go and get Corey back. Go and get these people that the media tried to cancel and told you to step away from. He basically gives me this would-be mob-esque kind of story, talking to some kid from the south side of Chicago trying to sound mobby or whatever. He goes into the story about all that he went through to get Alice Johnson out of jail and how he didn't do it for Kim, but he did it for me. But then he goes on to say that Kim is a you could tell her I said that. And I was thinking, like, that's the mother of my children. Since we know, and all the Christians in America that love Trump know that Trump is a conservative, we're going to demand that you hold all policies directly to the Bible. When Trump started basically screaming at me at the table, telling me,
if you can believe it, by the way, this is Milo. Yeah, maybe he really is straight now that he's like fat and ugly with a stupid haircut. I know it's difficult. Maybe they really did convert him.
I was going to lose. I mean, has that ever worked for anyone in history?
You're going to lose. Tell him he's going to lose.
I'm like, well, hold on, Trump. You're talking to Ye.
So yeah, we full-on Blitler 2024. It's great. So basically, Ye was trying to sell Nick Fuentes to Trump as a loyalist. So we fully reached, like... So to anyone who's saying, like, oh yeah, Republican Nazis or whatever, finally, no longer are we in, like, the extrapolatory period where you can kind of, like, read between the lines. We're now fully entering the, like, oh yeah, like, the people around Trump just have, like, hundreds of hours of logs of them denying the Holocaust and saying the N-word and stuff. You know, I guess that kind of just shaves off some of the analytical weight. Kanye went on to post several more videos, leaked a text log of him and several others, including Nick Fuentes and Milo, the only two people here whose names he didn't blur out, and then posted an article referring again to Nick Fuentes. And yeah, so this is where we're at currently. That's the yeah, we're the fully revving up. There's no way this actually helps Trump. Have you seen any backlash from any media that wasn't already left-leaning? Here's the question you have to ask yourself. Have you seen anyone condemning this who wasn't already condemning Trump? The answer is no. I told you all. I told you. I thought Fuentes was small fry. Well, Fuentes had connection to Milo Yiannopoulos. Sneeko was apparently also at their meeting, and he was that YouTube guy who got banned recently, who was buddies with Nick Fuentes. Yeah, we weren't far off from Destiny getting invited, too. Damn. We were so close to the most mimetic timeline. One day, if this man ever gets back on meds and gets help, I wouldn't hold your breath for that. What is Trump doing with those losers, though? Well, Trump is talking with those people because they're with Kanye. Kanye has a huge audience, of course, because of his past. And Kanye has with him now like a cabal of Nazis. So that's like the connection there. Kanye's just crazy and is probably being like used by the people around him to some extent, you know, to proselytize these ideas. And probably Milo, but you know, it's probably very complicated behind the scenes. And of course, that entails some kind of connection with Trump. You know, however long Kanye's campaign actually lasts, and Kanye's not going to be president, but he will be closely aligned with Trump, and will probably endorse Trump over DeSantis. So, what are the odds R. Kanye becomes the new R the Donald? Oh, I don't know. There are a lot of Kanye fans who are sticking with him. Because, you know, unfortunately, the average American, like if a celebrity endorses something, they'll go with it because they're pretty, let's say intellectually undiscerning. The Axios article goes into more. Former President Trump dined and conversed with white nationalist Nick Fuentes. I don't know why they keep seeing white nationalist. The term is Nazi. I don't know why they keep doing that. It's not ambiguous with him. I don't know why they keep, it's like they've forgotten how to use the term. They can't accept that a neo-Nazi could be anyone other than a skinhead with a bunch of tattoos. Like, that's where they're like, mental label cut off. Let's see. Kanye West very much wanted to visit Mar-a-Lago. Our dinner meeting was intended to be Kanye and me only, but he arrived with a guest whom I had never met and knew nothing about, Trump said in a statement. So apparently Trump is like playing it down. Like Kanye just brought these people on his own. I have no idea. Kind of hard to say. Fuentes has been with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar before. Gosar didn't denounce him, but Marjorie Taylor Greene did. So it's kind of like, you know, like how far are they willing to endorse this? Fuentes told Trump that he represented a side of Trump's base that was disappointed with his newly cautious approach, especially what some far-right activists view as a lack of support for those charged in the Jan 6 Capitol attack. Well, Fuentes was at the Jan 6 Capitol attack, so I can see why he might have a bit of an angle on that, wasn't he? You know, man, I really wish that I could hit you guys with some, like, hard-hitting political analysis. I actually have no idea what's going to happen. Like, at all. I have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, buy guns, update your passport. I have no idea, like, what... Because, like, so... Like, the Republican establishment is going to stick with DeSantis because he's a predictable representative for their interests, and Donald Trump isn't. But, like, the Donald Trump neo-Nazi Kanye West 2024 trifecta versus the Republican establishment and DeSantis, are we going to see liberals that are, like, endorsing DeSantis over Trump because he's not backed by neo-Nazis? What's going to happen? What does the future hold? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I will say this, though. You guys know how that old saying, like, capital sides with fascism to protect itself? Isn't it crazy how everything that's happening right now is egotistical billionaires, like, just solely through their wealth, like, dragging the country into fascism? Kanye West was a billionaire until he lost the Adidas deal. Elon Musk, wealthiest man on earth. Donald Trump. The whole, like, political future of the country is being dictated by the egos of a small group of billionaires. Which is funny because that is like the sort of the precondition of the Jewish question, except this time it's happening from a black man, a South African Afrikaner white man, and what does Trump descend from? The Irish, the Germans? You know, it's like what if the JQ was actually just capitalism? You know, guys, I cracked the code. Where's the truth behind the myth? What if there actually was a secret cabal of ultra-wealthy people using financial systems to control the world, except it wasn't secret, and it was all open, and there were cults of personality dedicated to all the people who were doing it. And we called it capitalism. And it had, like, nothing to do with race or religion, like, on a fundamental level. We did it. We found out. Here's Trump saying on Truth Social he doesn't know Fuentes. Also, at the end, also didn't know Nick Fuentes. Didn't know the guy. Never even knew. That's very funny. Man, you got to be pretty far out there for even Trump. I'm really curious how, like, the media space will handle Fuentes, because you can just go through and find, like, a ton of video recordings of him just saying, because again, like, we're always going by tiers. Like, how mask off can you be, right? Well, with Nick Fuentes, you can just go back and find him saying the N-word, or saying, like, yeah, we want to do a Holocaust to Electric Boogaloo, you know? I wonder how, like, I don't know how well the liberal media is even going to be able to handle that, because they're not used to dealing with people who don't, like, code their language. I have no idea. Yeah, we'll see. David Duke literally endorsed Trump, and he didn't denounce him. Well, to be fair, like, the Klan and other organizations like it have usually endorsed the Republican candidate in successive elections. They usually just ignore it. But this isn't an endorsement. This is having dinner with. I mean, this is a whole different dealio. And that for. I feel like Americans lately have just gotten very fatigued in general about hate stuff. Yeah, where was... Wait, this just happened the other day at us, at SeaTac, at Seattle's airport? Hold on. The future we have to look forward to. It says earlier today, but it was actually the 20th. Man was arrested after throwing up Heil Hitler salutes and screaming of a race war at busy airport gate D10. He looks like that guy who killed himself in Full Metal Jacket, doesn't he? You can barely see his face, but doesn't he look like I'm in a world of shit? File? Yeah. Let me just skip to the end of this story. Wah, wah, wow. Yeah, it turns out you can't throw a fuss in airports like that. Wish this part wasn't muted. What's he saying? Telling the cops they're doing the bidding of Jews, something like that. Yeah, that was in my airport, which is pretty wacky. Oh, I saw this as well. This is great. I love this. This is the Seattle Police Officers Guild. Again, these are like, if I had an issue, like these guys would show up. Brand new episode of HTO with Epsilon. Mike sits down with Professor Atmospheric Science Cliff Mass to discuss how wokeness has infected the universities like UW and how it affects public safety. So, like, my cops would, like, the fresh on the scene after watching the latest video with the woke face from 2016 or something. Yeah, very much not. You know, anytime cops are forced to arrest a neo-Nazi in public, they're doing so begrudgingly. They're like, they're like, all right. Okay, fine. You know, when will they get new photos? They will never get new photos. The ruins of this world that will be unearthed by curious aliens in the future. You'll see this printed on tablets that date back thousands of years. They'll have no idea what it means, and they'll never find the context. Yeah, what was I getting at here? Oh yeah, I have no idea what the future holds. Buy guns, update your passport. Honestly, I feel like we're so close to GG America, restart your playthrough, you f***ed up. Yeah, maybe. You know, there's not really any guarantees moving forward or anything, but keep in mind that if you look at the history of the world, like, okay, let me put it this way. How many countries can you guys think of that have been purely democratic for their entire history and have never had some kind of, like, dip into autocracy? Even France had, like, a military dictatorship after World War II for a while, didn't they? Until, like, the 80s? Spain's never had a history with authoritarianism. Did they? Yeah, kinda. Yeah, we'll get through it. No, guys, somebody in chat said Spain, so I was saying, yeah, Spain. Like, yeah, because Franco. I know that. Okay, yeah. Can't really say America was always democratic, can we? No, America hasn't always been democratic, but it has followed generally a trend upwards. That's the thing. That's one of the more unique things about America, you know? It sucks here. And also, there are lots of problems. But generally, our history has mostly been an upward climb. Not perfectly so. We had the internment camps for the Japanese, the revival of the Ku Klux Klan in the early 1900s. There have been, like, the Red Scare, yeah, McCarthyism. There have definitely been, like, backslides. For the most part, things have gone upward, but, you know, that's life. Don't forget failed Reconstruction. I will forget failed Reconstruction, actually. I will purge it from my mind. Thank you. I love forgetting about failed Reconstruction. It makes me feel better. We do the right thing after trying everything else. Yes, exactly. That's the difference between us and the Germans, okay? Our final solution is actually implementing democracy, and that's why we're better. That was clever. I'm just waiting for chat to laugh. There we go. I got one, Kekvi. That's all I need. Thank you. Get it? Because we try everything else, so that would be our final solution. Okay, some 4chan types are trying to, like, mass report a bunch of left-leaning accounts. They have a list of, like, 5,000, which, I mean, you know, they can give it their shot. Can't really rely on Elon for good moderation at this point in time. Elon has been like, you guys see this tweet? Elon's been full on like, I'm neither conventionally right nor left, but I agree with your point. The woke mind virus has thoroughly penetrated entertainment and is pushing civilization towards suicide. Listen, I'm not right or left. However, the Jewish control of international finance has, holy shit. The really wild thing, if you look at Elon Musk and his replies and stuff, my man is like non-stop engaging with far-right accounts. Not even like regular conservative accounts like Cat Turd or whatever. He keeps replying to like Andy No, a Nazi, Ian Miles Chong, a Nazi, Ramspal, a white nationalist, at least, if not a Nazi. Like, he's exclusive. Like, look at this. Tim Young, far right. Liz Wheeler, pretty sure she's far right. She's a blonde white woman. Oh, here we go. We're in the comments of Alejandra. That's nice. Are we here to say something good? Incitement to violence will result in account suspension. That's nice. He actually is in the middle, okay? For the left, he'll say, we'll ban people who make death threats. And for the right, he'll say, the Jewish menace has lured over Western civilization for too long. He's in the middle. You can take the Afrikaner out of apartheid, but you can't take the apartheid out of the Afrikaner. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, like, the funny thing is that, like, in terms of his, like, politics, I don't think Elon Musk was that reactionary a couple of years ago. I mean, surely, like, again, we're talking, like, Emerald Mine apartheid, like, white South African born during apartheid. Like, obviously, he's not exactly, like, a beacon of progressivism. But I don't think he's been, like, ideologically fascist this entire time. I think he's mostly just wanted to be, like, Tony Stark to people. But very much like Donald Trump, he will, like, occupy any ideology that gets him the most applause. And the far right are the people who want him to be their guy the most, so he will appeal to them, right? Like, keep in mind, I know it's really difficult to imagine this, but it was only a couple of years ago that Elon Musk was mostly associated with Reddit tech nerds. Do you see Reddit tech nerds talking about Elon Musk anymore? It's all far right people. It's all far right people now. It's not like a Reddit thing anymore. In fact, if you go on Reddit, a lot of people are shit talking him now. Oh yeah, it's an ego thing. He used to be associated. Guys, do you remember the days when Teslas were associated with, like, upper middle class, like, nerdy progressive guys? I remember when Teslas were kind of in the same, like, ideological category as Priuses, where you kind of think of it as like a, like, oh, this, like, a liberal, like, oh, they care about the environment. It's like, it's an electric car. I mean, the idea there would be, you'd think that people who care about that would be a little bit more environmentally conscious, maybe a bit more glitzy because of the way Teslas look, but, outside of that. But now that connotation is just not there. Again, this is so very, very much, Elon Musk is the closest the world has ever gotten to, like, capital will revert to fascism to protect its own interests. Elon Musk came out as a Republican less than 24 hours before the story breaking on how he sexually harassed an employee, then offered her money and a horse. He came out as a Republican pretty much entirely to say, like, if anyone shit talks me in the next 24 hours, it's actually because they hate Republicans. So that's great. And, like, all of the reactionary stuff that Elon Musk used to go out of his way to defend, if you remember, it was like anti-labor stuff. Remember? He would defend, like treating his workers poorly. He would say, like, China has a better work ethic because the people over there are, like, slaving away in sweatshops. And I think while his ego certainly gets caught up in that, I think that to a large extent, so much of the ideological shift here has just been like, which party is more willing to let me, like, brutally exploit and rape my workers as much as I want? Well, the Republicans. Okay, then I'm a Republican. Let's go. It really is like just a screaming testament to the fact that capitalism and democracy can't coexist. Because as long as you have systems where people get far more power, the more wealth they have, and people with more wealth have different interests from everyone else, going to have them skew democracy in their favor. And right now, we're like, again, the big issue we have right now, like, everyone's talking about it, everyone's paying attention to this, are 3 billionaires or former billionaires who are all collaborating openly with neo-Nazis in an effort to push conservative politics. That's what's happening politically right now. Seriously, that's it. There are only a couple hundred billionaires on Earth. You know that, right? What a remarkable coincidence that when fascism is fully and properly mounted at the doorstep of American civil society, it is being sort of envoyed by the wealthiest man on Earth, America's first billionaire politician, and, like, an ultra wealthy celebrity who openly admitted that he's siding with the far right because he thinks that he'd be, like, a beneficiary of the same privileges as a white guy. Yeah, you've repeated this for 3 times now in the past 15 minutes, and you're going to hear it a lot fucking more as this channel goes forward, to the extent that it can, too. This is critically important, and the more people in this country understands that, the more awareness there is of this. Because the problem is, I wish I could, like, run this down to some complexity or whatever, but it's actually really simple. We're seeing basically the most distilled kind of politics, which is the weaponization of reactionary politics as a way of defending class interests. We've been seeing this happen for thousands of years. This is basically the like, bedrock of Marxist socialism. And now it's happening again. So I don't know what to say, really, other than, like, oh, it's the textbook example of the thing that happens, you know? Like, oh, flips open econ textbook. Oh, somebody is trading guns and butter, and we see here at the middle of the line, there's an equilibrium. We're returning to textbook form. So, you know, much in the same way that a 101 textbook can only engage with so much nuance, there's only so much I can engage with as a, you know, would-be analyst of the situation when things are this straightforward. What do you want to know? How do you debate somebody who's been pulled in by Kanye's, you know, promises of what? What is Kanye even promising the people he wants to vote for him? Has he made any promises campaign-wise? Well, what do you even argue with? Like, what's even left, you know? I've said this before. Debate is useful for, you know, bringing over people who haven't fully like cemented themselves in a given position. You need to get at people before they're axiomatically in favor of the bad things they're pushing, you know? You can move over people who are homophobic because they're uncomfortable or unfamiliar, or because they think that actually like homosexuality is like a mental illness. Those people can be moved over. Not always, not reliably, but sometimes. People who ideologically think that homosexuality is morally wrong on a fundamental level, very difficult to move those people over. That's because their axioms have shifted. They no longer share your axioms. They no longer think that human well-being is good, but this is a problem due to some like confusion or wrong arguments or misbeliefs. They now think on a fundamental level that goodness may be good, but homosexuality is not goodness. It can't be goodness. It's outside that moral consideration. It's really tough to argue people out of this, you know? There are still people to be brought over. How do we bring those people over then? You can't really. I mean, you can sometimes. It's not impossible, but there isn't a secret debate strategy that works against people like that. If there was, then I promise you would already know about it. You know, there are, yeah, people who don't really care about ethics, like at all, who are purely nihilistic in that sense, or people who are ideologically committed to suffering as a good in and of itself, like people who think it's morally good for, say, trans people to die, of which there are a decent number. You know, argument, not always great. Social empowerment is the best thing you can do with these people. They need to be silenced. Some people say, oh, this is anti-freedom, to which I say, no, keeping Nazis from taking over your government is pro-freedom, actually. You know, I actually think that's totally okay. You know, I actually, see, this is a crazy thought that I have as, you know, a normal human being. I actually think it's okay to be socially prejudiced against horrible people who want to hurt you. You know, it's just an old-fashioned value that I have. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things play out. There has to be some axiomatic starting point we can all go back to. No. Don't make the mistake of believing that there's some way of reasoning with these people. You can get them over sometimes as a matter of luck, or maybe like their tummy hurts one day and they're a bit more emotionally weak. But I suffered for a long time under the mistaken belief that there's always a way, you know, like, well, if you can just get the right argument. It's not true. Unfortunately, it's just not. Diplomacy would be a lot easier if that was the case. It's not a reliable process, you know? No, the best thing that we can really do is build social power. And I'm really interested in seeing how the public responds to the whole Nick Fuentes thing in particular, because you know, it's rarely so clean cut in terms of like the bad. Man, you are proof that it's possible. No, I haven't convinced everyone who's ever listened to me. The people who get brought over from what I say are a small minority of the people who incidentally come across the arguments that I've made. But there are groups of people who are really, 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 really difficult to reach. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible, but ever since I made this channel, there have been people who have said over and over and over again, well, debate can't do everything. Debate can't do everything. And I've always agreed with those people. I'm just pointing out, like, those are the people for whom debate is just not really an effective way of bringing them over. It's, yeah, I mean, you might as well, like, try to debate a Christian out of believing in God, right? Because that's also, like, an axiomatic thing. It's a fundamental. I don't think the number of people being brought over will decrease with time. It's a matter of which people you target and what messaging you use. I'm only identifying a portion of the population who is less receptive to what you could possibly say to them. I mean, come on, you guys all know this. You all know the far right's gotten less reasonable over the past few years, more dogmatic, zealous or zealous. Sorry, you all know that. I pointed it out plenty of times. I only got deradicalized by Vaush because he's a man with a beard. There you go. See, that's an effective pointer. You think a strong anti-fascist push from mainstream media and other legacy media would be a big help? Well, it certainly doesn't hurt, but the problem is, like, unfortunately, as we've seen before in the history of fascist takeovers of different countries, pushback from liberal media isn't enough. Joe Biden needs to bring out the stick. Again, I am fully in favor of the legal prohibition of political power being accrued by anti-democratic candidates. I think that's perfectly fine and dandy. I think that's a sensible thing to believe in. And I think that's a pro-free speech and pro-democracy take, too. But, whatever.